Welcome to the Lovoni and Sarah podcast, where we chat weight loss, health, well-being, share recipes, and set weekly challenges. We encourage each other to lose weight, become stronger, and squeeze more juice out of life. We also share our stories, so you know you're not alone in this. I'm Lovoni.
And I'm Sarah. And on today's episode, Nutrition Wars, we're asking the question, why is society so diet obsessed? We're looking at fad diets through the decades and discussing how overwhelming all the conflicting information found on websites and social media platforms has become. Books, talk shows, magazines, ads, and companies often distort nutrition information for their own gain, often touting the wonders of a specific food, supplement, or diet, when what we really need is just to eat a balanced diet. We both know that, Lovoni, don't we? But yet.
Right? It was really quite overwhelming putting all this together,
Yeah,
I
I
thought.
know.
And I thought you could do like just a whole podcast, a series on this particular subject,
Probably on all of the
because
different ones that we've actually tried over
all the different
there.
ones. But one thing that I wanted to say, and I don't know whether you've got these stats for the UK, but Americans spend 60 to 75 billion dollars a year on diet and diet related products. Like that's according to something called like the Business Wire or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, constantly, I'm sure it's the same there. Here, you're constantly bombarded with marketing,
Yeah.
and it's like quick fixes. You're scrolling through something on social media, and often it's because you've looked at something, but I might not necessarily have, about some pill you can take, some sort of exercise equipment, a diet plan,
Yeah.
somebody that knows it all, where you've got to sit through a video and then they want to sell you something. And I think because
Not
we
so
live in
much pills or medication over here, but
right, yeah, because you're not allowed to advertise that, whereas here,
what I see
yeah.
a lot is what I eat in the day, how what I cook, protein this, protein that, then the exercise, my daily routine. And some of it I'm sort of a bit fascinated by. I must admit, I'm like, oh, I wonder what they do then, you sort of tap in.
Right.
But then you have the bigger companies, so kind of the Slimming Worlds, the Weight Watchers, there's all of those, even then through to the shakes like the Cambridge diet and stuff like that. So there's many different businesses that often offer different approaches to diets. It was interesting, we'll talk about it in a minute, but one thing I was going to say, I guess, in fairness or credit to them, when you're doing that plan, it does work, doesn't it? That's the thing. And so that's how they then get away with it, because when you're doing it, you do lose weight.
If you stick to it, yeah, you'll lose weight. But is it sustainable? And they're often really expensive too.
That's
It doesn't,
so much money.
right. And I mean, people, may not be able to afford it, or then people think, well, it can be expensive to lose weight. It costs nothing really to go for a walk, a pair of shoes, and, to eat less. Really.
That's it. In fact, you should be saving money because
right.
you're eating less. I know.
So I was looking at diets through the years.
Yeah.
This is a classic. I don't know if you've heard of this one. In the 1920s, there was the cigarette diet.
Really?
Yeah, because, if you smoke, often you don't feel like you don't want to eat, or
Presses
people
your appetite,
replace a cigarette, but, instead of having food. And then, often when people give up cigarettes, they'll eat. But the cigarette diet, that was in the 1920s. The 1930s had the grapefruit diet, where you ate 3 grapefruit a day. That would be really sustainable.
That's all you ate, 3 grapefruit a day?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
I think so. Well, or maybe you ate other things, but it's just called the grapefruit diet. And it just said that was what you ate, 3 grapefruit a day, because it was talking about how unsustainable that is. The 1940s, this is quite specific, 1976 and 2006, the master cleanse diet.
Right. So what do you have to do for that?
What's that? I don't know. I'm sure it was probably, I don't know whether you had enemas as well as part of that. I'm sure they were doing them then. the 1950s, and this made a reappearance, I think, in the 80s. In the 80s, was it? Was the cabbage soup
Yes,
diet.
because my mum
Did
did
you ever
that
try
one.
that one?
I didn't, but my mum did. Yeah.
Mum did. Yeah, I did it with
Yeah.
her. Even though I didn't need to lose weight, I still did it,
Yeah, I
you
can
know.
remember. I can clearly remember the sheet that my mum had in the kitchen. Yeah.
Have you heard of the drinking man's diet?
No.
So you drink instead of eat, have a beer instead of
Right.
food.
So
But
basically,
that's
you're
really
swapping your
indoors.
calories. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I bet a lot of people are like this. The 70s had the sleeping beauty diet. So instead of, because when you're asleep, you can't eat, right?
You just sleep.
You sleep instead of eating. Not
Okay.
particularly productive. Although, cooking, getting your food ready and cleaning up after it, that is
Tyrant.
also
Yeah.
takes time, but still, the sleeping beauty diet. And then I remember this one. I did this one with my mum. Once again, didn't need to lose weight. The 1980s was the Scarsdale diet.
Not
Have
heard of
you
that
heard
one.
of that one?
No.
I still have the book, I think.
Really?
Yeah, mum's book. I can't throw it out because it was mum's,
Yeah.
right? But that one you had half a grapefruit, dry piece of toast, and an egg for breakfast every morning, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then one day you'd eat bananas all day.
Right.
Another it might be chicken and broccoli, and that's what you'd eat all day. You definitely lost weight on this. So you'd eat like one specific thing each day.
Right.
Yeah.
Only
Could be
bananas
like
all day.
so you just eat bananas all day. For someone that doesn't like bananas, yeah, that's not good.
I love
Of course,
bananas.
we had Atkins. Atkins was,
Atkins. Yeah.
yeah, and
Hmm.
that's still around. But then again, yeah, they're pushing, healthy eating. I think it's a little different to when it first came out,
Is
but
it?
they have products and they push that.
Mm.
And they're often ultra processed food, like Weight Watchers. I mean, Weight Watchers, yeah, the specifics behind it are good, but
See,
they
this
have
is the thing,
products.
right? So I think a lot of them, the actual program itself, so whether it's so in the past, I've done Slimming World very successfully.
Okay,
Um,
is that must be UK thing. What's
yeah,
that like?
probably. When I did it, you could either go on the red plan or the green plan. If you were on the red plan, you were eating meat. If you were on the green plan, you weren't. But
Okay,
if you were on the red plan and eating meat, you weren't allowed carbs like potatoes or rice or anything with your meat. So
right.
the meat and the vegetables. If you were on the green plan, you were allowed the potatoes and the pasta, but you weren't allowed any meat with it. So it basically
Okay.
food combined. So the actual plans themselves, that and Weight Watchers, actually, Slimming World back then was a little bit more quirky. I don't know how it is now, but let's take Weight Watchers. It's actually quite simple. They really focus their attention on clean, fresh food, which I think is great.
Right.
You know what? There's
That's
no
good. Yeah.
problem with that. And actually, all it is a way of tracking your food. Now, I don't have a problem with that because actually I'm someone that helps me track my food
Mm.
because otherwise I find that I kind of really launch into overeating. And so that helps. So I don't have a problem with that either. But as then you said, it's then the products that you then combine.
Hmm.
So if you go to the supermarket, there's Weight Watchers pre-prepared food, pre-prepared meal
Right.
with, the points on it and all that sort of thing. Absolute trash because it's an ultra processed
Ultra
food.
processed.
It's
Yeah.
it's tiny. There's nothing much in it. If you just cooked it yourself, you can have whatever you like within that fresh
It'd
group.
be
So
cheaper.
and much cheaper. So I personally, the core sort of thinking behind, let's say, Weight Watchers or Slimming World, I don't have
Mhm.
a problem with because it is encouraging people to eat fresh food and to cook at home,
Right.
right? That's fine. But then it's as soon as but that's still, they're still making their money because they're charging you for using the app or to go into the club or whatever it
Yeah.
might be. But what I do then have the main issue is this, yeah, like the bars of stuff that they make, which is
Right.
really horrible stuff. You just,
Yeah.
no, that's no good.
Like
But
Atkins with their protein bars. I
yeah.
don't need a friggin' couple of eggs.
So did keto kind of take over Atkins, do you think? 'Cause there was a big keto thing
Oh, I think
that
keto
was,
is still really big here in the
is it?
States. Yeah. Because remember, did you have South Beach over there?
Yes,
Which was a
yes,
little like Atkins, but not as strict. And then it
strict.
had,
Yeah, I think my
yeah.
mum did
I,
that. Yeah, I
yeah. I don't even know if that's still around. Um, the 17-day diet. Have you ever heard of that?
think I have. I think she might
Green,
have done that
the
one too.
green bean diet.
No, not
I
heard that.
used to have the book. I was trying to find it. Obviously, I ditched that. Um, that was you ate green beans like all the time. So
incredibly balanced, does it?
yeah, but you ate other things, but you ate
Oh,
green beans. It does work. And then apparently in 17 days you can drop a whole lot of weight. That's why they call
what
it
else you
17-day. It's like a 17-day cycle. Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah.
There's also the juice diets where people just survive on
Juice
juices.
diet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I've seen, programs about that, and where it's helped, get rid of psoriasis,
Mhm.
helped people with, sore joints and various things. But you've got to look at more, one, they're adding a whole lot of veggies in, even if they're in the form of juice.
Yeah.
But two, you've got to look at what's being eliminated.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think most of these diets, apart from like the smoking diet and those ones, and the drinking man's diet,
Yeah.
the one thing that they usually have in common, barring the carnivore diet, is that you're taking out, for the most part, processed food, unless you're doing Jenny
Sugar. I
Craig or
mean,
one
that's
of
one of the big
those.
things that they're taking out, isn't it?
Yeah, and
No sugar.
and putting fresh food in. And so I think that's the one thing that they have in common. So maybe it's not specifically that diet, it's
Yeah.
just the fact that you're not, drinking lots of
Well, you're eating
soda,
less probably
you're eating
because
less.
it's what it is helping. Because I think there are some benefits that help you because it's helping your frame of mind. Because when you're in that frame of mind, like I'm going to really concentrate on what I'm doing with my food. That's one thing that it
Right,
does, because if you're tracking it or planning it or whatever, it's bringing your focus into what you're eating. I think it
right.
creates a mindset that says, I'm going to really fight that urge to binge or to overeat or just to eat whatever
Mm-hmm.
I want. So I think that helps, that channels
It's a
it.
good
My
thing.
mum
Mm.
successfully lost a lot of weight through Slimming World.
Right.
I don't agree with a lot of the things that they get her to do or the way I mean, it's absolutely nuts, some of the things that they have on there. For
Seriously?
example, you can eat a banana if it's whole, but if you mash it, you have to count the number of sins in it. I'm like, you have to chew the banana to put it into your body, and so that's mashing it. It doesn't make sense. The only thing I can think through is the fact that what you are doing is discouraging people from having a lot of them. Because if you blended a few bananas in a smoothie, for example, all of a sudden you're eating three
Right.
bananas, not one. Do you see what I mean? I'm wondering if that
Yeah.
thought process. Anyway, I don't understand.
But then they could slice a banana up, put in, like, portion it out and throw it into a smoothie, because like frozen bananas are good, even though I don't like
Exactly.
bananas.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I don't
Yeah.
agree with all of it, but it's
Yeah.
worked for her. But what it does do
That's good.
is that she goes every week to the club, right?
Right.
She's now at her target weight that she said that she wanted to be.
Right.
She doesn't have to pay anymore, but she
Okay.
still goes because it's a community. It helps for her
Right.
to keep her on track.
Like-minded.
And it's a friendship group now, and I get
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
want to totally sort of poo-poo all of these things.
No.
I think what the crux of this is what happens, as we've said many times, when you're not on that diet anymore. And
Yes.
then that's why people, and it's proven time and time again, I'm one of the people, you're one of the people that just
Right.
takes it all back and probably a bit more.
And that's how the companies make money,
And
is
so it's
doing that
all about
too.
making money. And so I think
Yeah.
if you could take away the learnings from these diets or programs or clubs that you've been to and adapt it to your lifestyle to eat clean,
Right.
eat healthy, I don't have a problem with that, because I'm like, you know what, I used it as an education tool. Do you know what I mean? So if
Mhm.
someone says I need something to help me refocus, I'm feeling a bit like I need some help refocusing at the minute, because I was doing really well before I got sick, and since then
Right.
I've just felt like I wanted to eat all the time. Like I'm so almost sort of addictive, craving food. Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
really struggling with it at the moment. So I feel like I need something to help me refocus. And then once
Right.
I'm back into the focus, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm off again now, and I can do that. So if someone else was saying that to me and they said, oh, I've joined this or joined that, I could understand. I could
Mm.
understand why they've used that. The problem is, as you say, it's the long-term thing. You can't pay forever to
Yeah.
keep that. But if you
And
use
making time to go to those meetings if
uh-huh.
you're busy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't been to one of those clubs since I was in my 20s, and actually I never
Right.
liked it, but it was what you had to do then because you didn't have the social the apps and everything to do it. But
Right.
I think if you could use it as almost dedicate a period of time, say I'm going to educate myself during that time, I'm going to use it for inspiration, motivation, and concentration. And then at the end of it, you know what, I'm going to carry on and pick up and carry that on. That in itself, I don't have too much of a problem if it's not an extreme, just eat cabbage for 30 days or whatever.
No,
That's not good for you.
it has to be sustainable. Have you
Yeah,
tried writing it down, like getting a book and writing some stuff
it's
down or writing
motivation,
some ideas
Lovoni.
down in it?
It's
What's
just
that?
motivation for me at the moment. It's just
Right.
because this is the thing. I'm an intelligent person. I know how
Mm-hmm.
to do it. I know what
Yeah.
to do. I've done it. I was doing
Right.
it just 4 weeks ago. And now
Yeah.
I'm in a place that I'm like, this is really hard. My God, this is really hard. And
Mm.
some days I'm doing it. And then other days I'm like, I just basically the willpower or whatever, I buckle and I'm like, oh, and then you go into that cycle that we've talked many, many times about going, well, stuff it, I've ruined it now, or I feel crap
Right.
way, and self-talk, and then all of the things we've learned, I go through all of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when I say that I'm struggling, I am, but if I compared it to how I would have been, 5, 10 years
It's
ago,
better.
oh, so much better. Because what I'm
Yeah.
not doing is going down a, muddy slide of going, and this is it,
Yeah.
it's all gone. But there are times when people find it harder than others, and at the moment, I'm finding it harder. So
Right.
I can but luckily, what I've got is the skills and the tools, and particularly from our
Mm-hmm.
learning, to help me. If there's people that are listening that go, you know what, I still haven't quite got that yet, and I need a bit more help, then I wouldn't, put pressure on them to say don't do it, but only
Right.
if you're doing it with that,
All
that
can
core thing.
afford it
I
and
know,
think that they
yeah,
will not stick to it because it's not a get on, get off thing.
but
And I
use it
think that's
properly.
how people need
Yeah.
to think. But one thing that really helps me is just coming up, and it's easy for me, I guess. I cook for a living. This is what I do. I develop recipes.
Yeah.
So I can think about, oh, that would be good. How can I make that either, a bit sort of less calorific
Uh-huh.
or I don't know, just tastier or something. Um, and play around with it. But I write it down and that helps me. I mean, right now I'm surrounded by chocolate. There's so
Mm.
much chocolate working on because I'm working on a milkshake shoot. So, I'm just, I've tried a couple of things, but I don't want to do that. And I don't go, ooh, and beat myself up for it
Yeah.
because I'm having salad for lunch.
Huh?
I'm still good.
Yeah.
It's just part of life. But I find writing stuff down or even journaling about it. We've talked about that,
Hmm.
because you can just get it out of your head a bit
Yeah.
and on paper, like say to yourself in a journal, why am I doing this? Or, how can I address this? And I think that the best thing when I feel like that is to go, okay, what can I do today?
Yeah.
And that's
And
it.
that's the sort of thing I've been doing. I've
Just
been
today.
recognizing it and going, you know what, this is a real sugar addiction craving that's happening for me.
Right.
And that's what I'm then battling with. So all I'm then trying to do is go, okay, let's do a bit less than yesterday. So if I've eaten more sugar than I wanted to yesterday, for me right now it's not realistic to go, well, I'm not gonna have any, because I'm just like that. Feels like
Right.
like an addiction. So I'm going, the best thing I can do is have less than I had yesterday. So each
Mm-hmm.
day it's coming down less. And I know I know that one day soon I will wake up and go, okay, cool, I'm back on it. Because I
Right.
know what I'm like, but I've got to
Mm-hmm.
just keep working towards it and keep it under control as much as I can, so that I don't then just go, oh, blow it, and then go completely
Right.
the other way.
And I think also focusing on instead of focusing on I need to do that, focus on, okay, water. Here's my
That's the
jug,
other
I'm gonna
thing.
do
Yeah.
that. Like, and focus on some yummy, meals to cook. But I think for you too, a big thing is you're working out and you've been so sick
Yeah,
and you haven't,
exactly. I
because
haven't
I've
done it.
found for me, that is my greatest motivator.
I was thinking
Now
just
I'm
that
into a
yesterday.
groove.
The fact
Yeah.
that because I haven't been exercising, for
Yeah.
me, it's all part of that package. And when I'm not
Yeah.
doing it, my body really responds. And when I'm not doing it, my body almost, I thought, well, perhaps we should talk about this another time, but I was thinking through about the way that I feel and actually what I think my body, how that reacts to it. So
Mhm.
you're right. I think, and I was literally last night thinking, you know what? It's been 3 weeks. It's been three
Yeah.
weeks since I've been to the gym. It's been 3 weeks since I've been out for a good long walk. It's been 3 weeks since I've done anything.
Yeah.
And this is the way it's responding. So I think, so that was really the point I was going to make, is I don't think people should feel really bad if they choose to use that as a motivator,
Oh,
kickstarter,
yeah,
but it's just how you're
completely.
then going to do it. And as you say, it's the money thing, because ultimately diets of any sort are tapping into a personal insecurity, aren't they? So
Oh, yeah.
it's either you're insecure about your appearance, I wrote these down,
Mhm.
health, relationships, your own value. So anything that they then try and tap into of that, they're then trying
Mhm.
to
They spend a lot of money on
sell you a
marketing.
solution. I'll sell you a solution.
Yeah.
And all of
Mhm.
those
Quick
insecurities,
fix.
yeah, are then coming from external society pressure. So whether that's fashion,
Mhm.
because fashion was always shown it's getting better. It is getting better on the size of the
Right.
models, but not, we're nowhere near that. TV, we've now got TV and social media that then,
Yeah.
bombard you with the way things look. But you know what? I then thought, but even at a really young age, kids tease and bully other kids about being fat, don't they? When you're at primary
Right.
school, young, a young age, other kids, they're going, tease the fat kid. And I just thought, well, when does that come from? Because they don't know about any of those things. They don't know about fashion. They don't know about the money that you could have to spend on a thing. And I think there is a bit of a human instinct to almost zoom out and zoom on people that are different. And I
Mhm.
did a bit of research on that, and I looked, and it said that one of the thinkings is that, way back at the original time, when the hunter-gatherer had to be fit, had to be mobile, had to be
Right.
strong. And actually, it's that whole, you're not going to be that person if you're overweight, because you're not at your best if you're overweight from
Right.
a health point of view. Okay. And so maybe there is a little bit of that in the back of your mind, of those people that do, pick individually
Well,
on
and that's like a weakness.
a weakness. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not criticizing anybody. Hello, look at me.
Yeah.
But it's like a weakness. That's the weak pack member that
They
people
then
will go after them.
So I think
It's
there's
so
a whole host of things, isn't it? Yes, there's external pressure, but there is that part of something, us as human beings, that know deep down it's not good for us. It's not
right. That's the
to
thing.
be
And
overweight.
that should be the driving force.
Yeah.
I know for a lot of people it's not, but I want to be strong. That's what, we say in the
Yeah.
intro. Is being strong. And
Healthy, strong,
that's
and
why
fit.
and that's why I'm really into my working out, and not a crazy amount. And I don't go anywhere. It's just
Yeah.
at home, but I can feel I'm getting stronger, and I
Uh-huh.
can feel, can't see them yet, but I can feel my muscles
Yeah.
underneath there. You were speaking about the sort of the paleo, the thing
Uh-huh.
just a minute ago, but that's some more diets there. There's the carnivore diet where you just
Mm.
eat meat. That'll be interesting to see that in about 40 years. The whole protein thing, we know
Yeah.
that's the having a moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots to talk about there. There's so much conflicting information. This is the thing. There's the conflicting information. Because then there's vegan, which somebody else says that's so much better for you, cutting out of animal fats, and then somebody else says that's not good to do that. Paleo tells you not to have legumes, and beans, because they're not good for you. But then you look at the Mediterranean diet,
Yeah.
and that's a big part of what they eat. So like it's so overwhelming for people. But I think that if if people, if they're going to, okay, today's the day, I'm going to start doing it, I'm going to lose weight, you have to put things in there that you like to eat. You have to cook for yourself. That's just
Mm.
part of it. Sorry, but if
Yeah.
you want to be healthier, you have to. And then just, yeah, look at what's out there, but you have to make it work.
I
People
was
have
going
to
to
make it
say that.
work
I
for
think you
them.
have
That's
to
really at the end of the day.
listen, take it all in, but all with a huge pinch of salt, or a bit of,
Right.
because even Eddie Abu, is that how you say his name? The guy that's really championing about ultra processed foods at the moment. The guy that
Okay. Right.
um,
Right.
and he has a lot to say, and rightly so, about the fact that ultra processed food, and just basically eat real food, eat real food, eat real
Right.
food. That's his message. But even this week, he held up a handwritten whiteboard with, if you want to lose body fat, eat this, right? Because he's also really into intermittent fasting, so he doesn't eat until much later.
Right.
And I just thought, you have just done exactly that. You've just created, all right, in a different version and for free. So he's not technically making money out of it, but obviously he wants to
Right.
increase his following. So it's all of that. A diet plan, right? And I just thought everyone has got their own way of doing it. Everyone has got
Yeah.
the right way of doing it. I think you have
Right.
to find what it works for you, and whatever that is, do
Yeah.
that.
And see
Because
how your body responds.
yeah,
Like, I found that my body, if I have too much gluten,
mhm.
just I get bloated and I feel uncomfortable. I mean, if you want to cut back on anything, cut back on the sugars and the refined
I mean, that's
white.
automatic,
Having
isn't
said
it?
that, I still like rice, but I
Yeah, but I
still
mean,
gonna eat rice. I mean,
it's
you can still
automatic
eat
to
these
think
things.
about those things. You think the easiest thing to pull back on or to cut out is the sugary stuff. And
Right,
it's, but we all, again, the trouble is, that, and sometimes you just need that kick start to help your mind focus in on what you need to do. But
right.
I want to, like we said, we want to urge people to think you can't be on it and off it, because as soon as you're off it again,
No,
you'll just go back. So you've got to try to turn this into your everyday. Um,
right.
it's
And
not
don't you
easy.
think, one thing I think most of these diets don't tackle is the mindset and is the mental and emotional aspect of it.
While you're
Because
doing
we've
it.
said many times,
Yeah,
you can go on any diet. If you stay on it, you will lose weight. But if you haven't tackled the reason why you overeat, why you're overweight, why you don't exercise, if you don't tackle those things,
it's
it's
just
just going
going to
to
keep.
keep going and you're going to waste money. Really, just but and once again, it's starting small. Don't you think when you go on a diet or join up with one
Yeah,
of those
it's
things,
all
you're
in,
really
isn't it?
keen at the
Yeah,
beginning, you're in there, and then you just peters out
yeah.
because it's too hard for a lot of people.
And
Some
also
like the structure,
on that
but
plan, it's then very, prescriptive. It says, right, you can have this, you can have this, you can have this.
right.
I then find, even within that, if it's on the plan and it's permitted, right, within the diet, there's
Hmm.
some things that are triggers for me that I then know that if I eat that, it's going to really trigger my sugar,
Right.
right? So even though it's permitted on the diet,
Like
it's
you can
not,
have 20 chips or crisps, as you
yeah,
say.
it's not
Yeah.
good for me, because as
Like,
soon
no,
as
the
I've
whole
done that, I'm like
packet.
that. Ugh. And so
Right.
it's about making those swaps. But I know then, because for me, I can eat crisps and it's not a problem. But if someone said to have 3 little bits of chocolate, when I'm in a good
No.
place, I can do that. But if I'm not in a good place, like now, if someone gave me 3 chocolates, I'd be like literally clawing the rest of their arm to get like, I need all of
Right.
that. So for
Yeah,
me,
you're not going to pop them back in the cupboard and say,
it's
I'll
not going to
eat, I'll
happen.
eat some
When I'm
tomorrow.
when I'm feeling
Yeah.
in control, I do. And so then you've got to then, even within that remit of a diet plan, if they're trying to sell you that, you have to remember it's not going to be good for everybody, because these different things trigger different people. So
Hmm.
that's why you then have to find your own path through that suits you, and something
Right.
that you can then carry on long term. But as you were saying, that that whole self-control, self-will thing, there is a whole group of people out there, and I've experienced this, that are really snobby about people that are overweight.
Hmm.
Really, I think they see them as a lower value person. And
Right.
and I just sort of thought, why is that? And I wonder if it's because they look on them as the fact that they don't have self-control. Because ultimately we don't.
Maybe.
We're overweight because we've eaten too much. We've eaten too much because we haven't made the self-discipline of not eating that much. It's as simple as that, isn't it, really? And I
Right.
wonder if it's because they then see you as less intelligent or less disciplined in it, because there is the whole group of people, as well as social media, that then zoom in on that, and they do treat you differently. They have a real snobbery around it. Have you
Which
experienced not?
yeah, like that French bitch that I went,
Yeah.
that place, I
Mhm.
know she was like that with me. I could just, when I walked in and she looked me up and down the way she did, I
Yeah,
knew exactly why she was the
yeah.
way she was, and she pointed it out to me. Um, it's funny because once upon a time, being overweight showed wealth,
Hmm.
didn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. When the paintings, that the more plump you were, the more voluptuous you were,
Right,
then the better
right.
it was. And so
Yeah,
it has still been a social shift, but it's definitely not about wealth anymore, is it? it's
right.
it's about something else. But yeah, I
And
mean, I think,
it's made so nowadays just eating is made so complicated, and it doesn't have to be that. It's almost like people need to wipe everything from their mind
Yeah.
and start afresh. And what do I like? What don't I like? What can I do? What can't I do? What can I afford? You know, like we've said
And
that a few
ultimately, it
times.
shouldn't really be the main part of your day, should it? We're eating
Right.
to survive, but yet we might as well choose something nice and enjoyable to eat to survive
That
because we have
makes a
that
really big
opportunity.
difference, right? Yeah.
However, that is ultimately what it's doing. We're fueling our body so that we can
Mhm.
then do everything else, whether that's,
Yeah.
exercising, playing with family, working, traveling. That's what we're trying to do. We're fueling our body to enable us to do all of those things. So
Right.
to try and it shouldn't be my tummy just did a huge rumble. Did you
Oh,
hear
it did.
that? Right on cue.
Speaking of that, right? Oh
Speaking of which,
gosh.
yeah, so I
So
think
yeah,
it's
so
also important to.
yeah, just try and not believe everything everybody says out there. Honestly,
Yeah, remember that
just
ultimately they've got probably a financial gain to make out of
right.
every
Yeah.
single thing.
Or
So,
right. And just because one person's lost weight doesn't mean another person has. There was something that drew me to Benji, who we had on,
mhm.
who had lost 100 pounds. I liked the way he ate because he ate everything. He
Yes,
still had
and it
potatoes,
makes it work
rice.
for him.
He
Yeah.
made it work for him, which was not eliminating whole food groups from his diet. Because it's human nature. As soon as you tell yourself you can't have something,
Then
you
you want
want it. So that's why, I mean, and food is an addiction and it's always around and you have to eat to survive. But like Alcoholics Anonymous, and I think, any of those programs teach people just deal with today. And
yeah,
I think that
that's
is
true.
it's good to
That
have a
is true.
plan, but deal with today. And, portion size. It's really at the end of the day,
Hmm.
it comes down to that.
Hmm.
Oh gosh, there's just so much just wrong information out there. Okay.
Well, and it is overwhelming. It's overwhelming to
Mhm.
know what to do, but I think
Yeah,
truthfully, people do know what to do.
they
Really,
do. They
you do know
do.
what to do. It's
Yeah.
just then
Like,
thinking, have I got the mindset, the motivation,
right.
but you know
And
what
just
to
don't eat all day. That's another thing too. I mean, you can lose weight and not have to spend any money. We said this before.
do. Hmm.
Just focus on things aren't processed.
Clean food
Yeah, and cook. Don't
and not
be
huge man
don't
of
And
it.
make stuff that you look forward to. That's
Yeah,
something that I do. It's like, no matter what it is,
yeah,
whether it's a nice soup or something, having something to look forward to like that makes a big difference.
I agree.
Next week, we're talking about the latest diet mania, which is protein.
Yes,
That's what we're doing, right?
it is.
And we've got our first quarterly check-in for the year to see
Yeah.
how we're progressing in our transformation. Be sure to visit lovoniandsarah.com for show notes on today's episode and see below for links to connect with us on Instagram and our YouTube channel where you can watch us and listen to us. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.